Welcome to the Dark Files. I am Mr. Nobody, and here, darkness has a voice. It was May 5, 1993, when three 8-year-old boys disappeared in the small town of West Memphis, Arkansas. Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers had left home as they always did, to ride their bikes in the neighborhood. But that night, they didn't return. Their families immediately called the police, and the search began. The hours turned desperate. A day later, the bodies of the three children were found in a muddy ditch, in a wooded area known as Robin Hood Hills. The bodies were naked, tied with their own shoelaces, and showed clear signs of torture. Christopher's body, in particular, had been brutally mutilated. The shock was immediate. The crime was considered so cruel that rumors quickly spread that it wasn't just a murder, it was a ritual. The mood in the town grew tense. The tragedy mixed with a collective feeling of paranoia. This is because the United States, in the 80s and 90s, was experiencing a wave of fear known as satanic panic. Any alternative behavior was associated with cults, pacts with the devil, or sacrificial rituals. And it was precisely in this context that the West Memphis police began to put together their theory. Without concrete physical evidence, the investigators turned to three local teenagers who stood out for being different: Damien Eccles, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly. Damien was fascinated by the occult, read about Wicca, and listened to heavy metal bands. Jason was his childhood friend, quiet and introspective. And Jesse, at 17, had an intellectual disability and a below-average IQ. For the police, that was enough. The trio soon became the target of a biased investigation, marked by prejudice and a rush for answers. The central piece that supported the entire accusation was a confession obtained by Jesse Miskelly after more than 12 hours of questioning without the presence of a lawyer or legal guardian. During this time, he changed his story several times, with details that did not match the known facts. He claimed that the boys had been killed in the morning, when the autopsy clearly indicated that the crime had occurred at night. He also made a mistake in describing how the victims were tied up. Even so, the police used this confession as their main evidence. The three were arrested. The city applauded. The narrative of the satanic ritual gained momentum. In a trial marked by sensationalism, the prosecution presented drawings, song lyrics, and personal objects of the accused as evidence of involvement with the devil. There was no DNA, there were no eyewitnesses, there was not even a concrete motive, but there was fear. And fear, when well fed, turns into collective truth. Damien Eccles, identified as the leader of the group, was sentenced to death. Jason Baldwin received life in prison. Jesse was also sentenced to life in prison plus 40 years. The case seemed closed. But something did not add up. Over the years, independent investigators, journalists, and even celebrities began to question the validity of the trial. Documentaries such as HBO's Paradise Lost helped expose egregious flaws in the conduct of the investigation. Behavioral experts, lawyers, and forensic experts began to analyze the case. The conclusion was devastating. Everything seemed to have been conducted based on assumptions, mass hysteria, and a desperate search for culprits. In 2007, with new DNA analysis technologies, samples taken from the crime scenes were tested. None of them matched the three young men arrested. The turning point came when DNA found on the restraints of one of the victims matched Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of one of the murdered children, Stevie Branch. He had never been formally questioned at the time. His wife's testimony also contradicted his schedule that night. In addition, witnesses said they had seen him with the boys before they disappeared. Still, the authorities resisted opening a new trial. The system seemed more interested in protecting its reputation than in seeking the truth. After 18 years of public and legal pressure, in 2011, the so-called West Memphis Three accepted an agreement called an Alford plea. In this agreement, the defendants plead guilty but officially maintain their innocence. In exchange, they are released. It was the only way they could leave prison without facing more years in court. The release of the three was not a cause for complete celebration. They were free, but not acquitted. The American justice system never officially recognized the trio's innocence. The crime is still considered solved, despite glaring inconsistencies. The real killers have never been tried. For many, the story represents the collapse of justice when contaminated by fear, prejudice, and social pressures. The media played a crucial role in fueling the panic. The public wanted a monster, and justice delivered three young men.